Hello and welcome to Letters Home, a story of a World War II B-17 pilot from Lowell, Michigan, in his own words. And he just so happens to be my grandpa. I'm your host, Annie Whitlock, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, my dad, Mitch McMahon, my aunt, Lori McMahon Summerfield, and Dale Croft from the Lowell Historical Museum.
In each episode of Letters Home, we're going to dive into letters written by my dad during his time in World War II that he sent to his parents, siblings, and friends back home in Lowell, Michigan. We'll be reading his own words and giving some context as to what was happening in the world and in Lowell at the time he wrote these.
In this episode, Mom and Dad enjoy their time in Miami before they run into some tough times in Kingman, Arizona.
Oh, yeah. Well, in our last episode, we read about Bruce and Margaret's wedding, August 23rd, 1944. Bruce is no longer in combat, so they're back in the U.S., and they're spending some newlywed life at the relocation center in Miami. So we're going to start with a cute letter from Bruce to his parents from Miami, in his own words.
Sunday, September 10th. Dear Mom and Dad, just now I'm sitting across from Marg and she's writing letters also. Outside you can hear an orchestra playing with the surf breaking in the background. From our windows I could toss a stone and it would land in the Atlantic Ocean. We're that close to the beach. Again, as so many times in the last 2 years, I wish you could be here with me. Now it's us. Incidentally, that us is something you'll never have to worry about. Every day I realize how lucky I am to have such a girl for my wife. We're ideally suited to each other, and each day that passes only proves it more. I'm writing Raj tonight and then going to get some sleep. I have an appointment tomorrow at 8, psych interview. It's my second one, and I guess the last one. Sorry this is so short, but I'll write it soon again. You're always in my heart and mind. Your loving son, Bruce.
Well, we mentioned this a little bit last time because he was in Miami at this relocation center to do some psychological testing. But Dale, you now have some information about these tests that he was doing.
Yes, I do. The physical assessments consisted of an initial health check, which assessed their overall health and identified any injuries or illnesses sustained during their service. They then had the documentation of medical concerns, which were medical issues that arose during military service. Then they had an assessment of current health and history, which was to understand the soldier's current health status and gather information about their medical history. And last but not least, as far as the physical portion, they sought to identify potential illnesses or diseases that might be linked to military occupational exposure and hazards, as well as to identify potential conditions that could be considered for VA benefits later on. The mental part was recognition of combat stress, which back in 1944, PTSD was not yet in use. Terms such as combat exhaustion, war neurosis, and shell shock were used to describe mental health issues experienced by soldiers during World War II. They went through a psychiatric screening test to identify and potentially disqualify individuals deemed more likely to struggle with adjusting to military life and developing psychiatric issues during their service. Limited post-war support focused during the war was largely on returning soldiers to duty quickly, while there was recognition of mental health issues. Comprehension post-war support for these conditions was still in its early stages of development. And diagnostic tests. The war spurred the development of more advanced tests like the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory, or MMPI, which helped in assessing psychological well-being. So this was the beginning of the tests. Of course, Vietnam and Korean War and all those brought a lot more
PTSD.
Detailed testing, and PTSD became the norm instead of shell shock and combat exhaustion, etc.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So, yeah, he's going through a couple different of these interviews to make sure he's, feeling good mentally.
Yep.
All right. Well, are we ready to hear Marg's perspective of Miami? Because now that Bruce is married, we're going to be reading the occasional letter from her, too. And for listeners who like to follow along with the letters on our YouTube or on the Lowell Historical Museum website, I will tell you that Margaret's letters are much harder to read than Bruce's. I think I've mentioned this before. And she writes much longer letters. Both because her handwriting is so spaced out and because I think she just writes longer letters. So you'll see what I mean. And we'll get a few from her as these episodes go on. So in her own words.
Dear Lotta, Frank, Veda, and her kids, Marion and Ed and theirs, Helen and Bern and Judy and Jill and anyone else that cares to plow through this letter. I've decided to make my letters a little on the round robin side as I have quite a few to write, and I'm so anxious to tell everyone all about this. Last night around midnight, dancing out on the Lord Tarleton patio under a beautiful sky full of stars and waving green, red, white lights, a wonderful GI band, darling couples having so much fun all around us, sitting in deck chairs, drinking cold beers and cokes, just drinking, talking, whispering, and laughing. Bruce and I thought of every one of you and numerous others, and how we wished you were all here enjoying everything as we are. We thought about the boys over there and over here. The Army, Navy, and Marines headquarters provide this they fight for 3 years and come home to start fighting for a living again. I won't go on about how many thoughts similar to these as we sat there discussing. We finally decided we couldn't think about everyone and how we wish they were all could be here enjoying themselves like this. Well, heavens, I'm all in the middle already, and I still can't say what I mean. I talk better than I write, while Bruce does both.
So this letter goes on for several more pages, and I'm going to skip over a few things because she describes details of the hotel room they're staying in at the relocation center, and she describes like the sea green color of the John, which I haven't heard a bathroom called a John in a long time. It might have been since Grandma Maggie called it a John. It was the last time I've heard it. But she writes it there. She also talks about how Bruce took her to a wrestling match featuring the Green Hornet, which I can only say sounds like a luchador wrestling thing. It was very bizarre. So there's like pages of describing the toilet and then a weird wrestling match. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to skip. So we're going to skip a lot of that. We're going to skip ahead. You can read them all, though, on the Historical Museum website. And we're going to skip to the end of this letter in her own words.
We haven't worked on getting a tan yet, but we both started. Bruce's chest tonight is slightly on the deep red side, and I no longer bother with leg makeup. The ocean is real salty and warm as a lukewarm bath. Tonight we danced and went to the PX for a malted for Bruce and a Coke for me. I went to the big church in Miami proper this morning at 10 a.m. Mass. Very pretty and quite easy to follow with Bruce. We also got paid today. Great life. We can't lose. I can't begin to tell you all how much fun this guy is to live with. We laugh, throw wisecracks, get hysterical, and talk philosophically all in the same 5 minutes. Love to everyone and say hello to Aunt Liz and her family. How are you, Lotto, and are you taking it easier? How's little Roger's foot? Is Vicky going to let me stick gum in his room when I get back? Tell Helen and Josephine to save us 2 pieces of fudge. Is Butch housebroken? Has Gail gotten lost again, and have Judy and Jill given the ducks any more whiskey? I'll be writing again soon. Margaret.
The end of this letter is something else. I mean, we get a mention of Aunt Lizzie and that Lotta may not be feeling well. The reference to Vicky is, I'm assuming, Victor?
Yep.
Who's Marion's son? Okay. Butch is housebroken? Does she mean potty trained?
Yes,
I'm
I
hoping.
think so.
Okay, it sounds like that's a pet.
I think that was funny, just how she worded it. Is he housebroken?
Yeah, she's talking about Frank Jr., a.k.a. Butch. But yeah, I would say he's talking like he's a dog or something. Gail got lost, apparently, and Jill and Judy fed the ducks whiskey.
Yeah, I wish we knew more about
that. What is going on?
I know. It sounds very interesting.
The time around their wedding must have been fascinating. I'll just tell you that, while they were all home in Lowell. Yeah. So the honeymoon does not last long, though, because just 2 days after Marg wrote that letter, she and Bruce left Miami and headed to Kingman, Arizona, but not without a stop in New Orleans on the way. So we're going to read a letter that Bruce wrote from New Orleans in his own words.
Wednesday, September 13th. Dear Mom and Dad, well, here we are in New Orleans with a 12-hour layover en route to Kingman, Arizona. Speaking of Arizona, it's sure going to be a long trip for someone bringing a car out to us, I mean. The town of Kingman is only 2,000 and the field is a big one. Hence, I expect some difficulty in getting a place for us to stay. I don't know exactly how far from Lowell we will be, but it's just on the border of Nevada, California, and Arizona. If we're lucky, we'll get a room, and that's about all. This will make things sort of dull for Marg, so she'll may get a job in town to kill the time away while I'm away. If we couldn't get a place to stay, I might talk her into getting a teaching job in town or a town nearby, and then we could see each other at night, or if she was too far away every other day, I could drive over to see her. This sounds kind of rugged, but Arizona, especially in a small town, there's no place to keep a wife. Dad, I guess you better see about a good car for us. It'll take a good one, and though I hate to spend the money, it's going to be a necessity. We'll look around out here, but I know cars will be really scarce. Look for a coupe, about a 39 or 40 or even a 41, and I'd like a coupe because they're easier on tires, although anything else would be all right. It'll probably cost around $1,000, but if you could get me something that took, say, $500 down and then $100 a month, I'd have you turn my allotment checks over to it. Maybe in a month or so I'll have almost $500 saved out of my pay, so that I wouldn't have to draw it from the bank. Also, you might see Mort Hausman, because he said he could get me tires when I got home. A couple of spares would be handy if someone started out our way. I'll see about gasoline from the post, and then I'll let you know about it as soon. It might be a good idea to tell L. Rutherford that I'm stuck in a bad place and see if he could find me a good deal on a car. Write and give me the dope, and I'll look out there, although I know I won't get a thing unless I pay $200 or more than I would at home. The way things happened, it would have been better to get a car before we left, but you can't always see those things. If someone drives out, I'll foot the bills and expenses. This will make the car about the same in price as if I bought it out there, but it'll be a car, and I'll be sure of then someone can have the fun of a trip out. We're leaving here tonight at 8, and it should be in Kingman Saturday or Sunday. Just keep an eye open for a car, and I'll write what we decide after looking for the situation over when we get there. If we could get a place to stay, the whole picture might be different. So long for now. All my love, your loving son, Bruce.
So he seems really nervous about this situation
All these things
coming
with the car.
up.
Yeah, I was like,
so
wow.
they're in New Orleans. They're like, not to Kingman yet. So he hasn't even seen it, but he's already nervous. Like, he needs a place to stay. He's going to need a car. I'm just amazed that he could get a decent used car for $1,000. That's not bad.
Yeah.
So the hotel where he's writing from is the Young Hotel in New Orleans, because that's what it says on the letterhead. So, and the letterhead says New Orleans' newest hotel. So I figured it must be something interesting. Dale, what can you tell us about the Young Hotel in 1944?
Well, it was a very interesting place. The Young Hotel first opened its doors in 1907 on Canal Street as the Hotel New Orleans. It opened its doors at the Young Hotel on December 19th, 1925, as a Renaissance Baroque landmark by Weiss and Dreyfus. A grand 1928 expansion added luxury, including a marble fountain, private baths, and the city's first retractable roof venue called the Roof Garden. During World War II, the Young Hotel remained a hub of activity and continues its commitment to affordable luxury, comfort, and enjoyment for guests, even while supporting the nation's war effort. The hotel hosted grand events and entertainment like the Tulane Room, which held 2,000 guests and featured top entertainment featuring the Music Box Orchestra and jitterbug dance performances, which Bruce
must have
loved to
loved
dance,
that,
so
yeah.
I'm sure he was out there
They
doing
could
the
get a
jitterbug.
chance to do that for the night.
The Cultivation Lounge was also a hot spot, which provided locals and military personnel could escape the stresses of wartime through social gatherings and enjoy entertainment also. After the war, the hotel continued its evolution with the installation of WJMR's antenna atop the hotel, making it the second tallest structure in Louisiana and a center for radio broadcasting. At one time, it was labeled as the largest convention hotel in the South. It was called the Young for more than 75 years, and afterward it was known as the Clarion, Radisson, and Park Plaza. It was heavily damaged in the levee failures of 2005 and remained closed for a long while. However, it has been renovated and it's once again open as the Young Hotel, a luxury hotel offering both rooms and residences.
Oh, so it's called the Young Hotel. Back to being called the
Yeah,
Young
so
Hotel.
it's back to there.
That's
So,
nice.
yeah, the rooftop garden, music box orchestra. Yeah, sounded like a hot
Retractable
spot.
roof. That's interesting.
Fancy. Well, this is probably their last time enjoying some luxury for a while.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
So they're going to enjoy the Young Hotel. Because now it's time to get into our segment where we talk about what was going on in the world and in Lowell in September 1944. And we're going to read the next letter that Margaret wrote from Arizona. And again, it's another very, very long letter. So we're going to break it up a bit to kind of fill in the pieces. So in her own words.
September 21st. Dear McMahon folks and Reynoldses, going from the sublime Miami Beach to the ridiculous Kingman, Arizona. Sit yourself down to listen to my Army life with the J.B. McMahons. Bruce is down calling you now, and I want to get this off as soon as possible. I have loads to tell you all, and I can't stop to write pretty, so I hope you figure this out. Our trip out here would take pages in itself. You can imagine 6 days on many different trains. Southern lines, worst in the country. Dirty, hot, sticky, crammed with GI. No towels, soap, and at times no water. GI food served on paper plates at $1 a plate for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah. So this letter gets a little water damaged at this point, I think, and pages are missing out of this letter. So from what I could tell, skipping a little bit, she says she got sick on the train and had to see a doctor as soon as they get to Kingman. So the letter goes on to describe their very bleak circumstances when we get to Kingman. So we will read that. But before I do, I'll share a fun Lowell fact. On this same day, because I was looking at the ledger, reported that LHS opened their football season against Comstock Park, because it's September, and there's some familiar last names in the article. My other grandpa, Rex Collins, but then guys named Roth, Croft, and Beecham.
Oh.
Look at that.
Okay.
So,
Which Croft?
yeah, what relative of yours? It didn't say first names, so I don't know.
Play with the Rex.
But yeah,
The date,
played
yeah,
football in
Rex.
1944. So, I don't know. But anyway, so another mystery
Probably
to figure out.
Don Beecham, though, right?
Yeah, it'd have
I
to
mean,
be
I
Don.
don't know.
But
Oh, it's probably Bob Croft, Robert Croft.
Okay.
Because they were in the Army or Navy together. And
Okay.
Stuff.
Okay.
So that's where the Roth. Yeah, they were.
So
all,
how's he
all
related
buddies.
to you? Is
Yeah,
he
yeah, he's one of the clan. Yes.
one of the clan?
One
All
of the,
right.
One of
Well,
the clan from Switzerland. Yes.
Yeah.
all right. Well, they all opened the football season. So anyway, that's a little side letter. So let's keep going, though, with Margaret's letter in her own words.
I met my first people in Kingman and found out information that will lead us to a place to lay our heads that we can afford. This hotel room is costing us $120 a month, and food is high also. If you're a teacher or a nurse, you can get certified to live in these one-room, octagon-shaped jobs out here, 6 miles from town and 2 minutes from camp with $35 a month. At $35 a month. I could buy groceries at cost on the post and stay with Bruce, my one aim in life at the present time, and not purely selfishly as I couldn't stand his living on this post for over a year in this town for entertainment and away from us all, after all he's been through. For the first time last night, he talked for 3 hours, telling of the times when he and his crew had resigned themselves to the fact.
And the letter cuts off right here.
Oh.
Which I'm like, just when it was getting good. I think there's definitely either a sentence or a page missing or something, because the next page that's listed there doesn't seem to make sense. And I couldn't quite figure it out. Maybe I'll have you all look at just that little piece, because it's really interesting finally how he's now sharing war stories, and now that he's back, and she's saying she doesn't want to live apart because he's been living apart from everybody
For so long.
long. So
Well,
I don't
resigned
know.
himself. He and his crew resigned themselves to the fact that maybe they weren't going to make it back.
Yeah,
I don't
well,
know.
That's,
Must
that's what
be.
it's got to be.
That's what you're thinking.
Maybe we
so.
should check
I
that
know.
box again and look through
See if there's
that
pages
those dates
missing.
right
There's
there.
pages
Maybe
missing.
maybe there, I missed something. Maybe we missed.
I don't know. I
almost
doubt it. There's probably. I mean, these are 81-year-old letters. Like, who knows what happened to them? And she wrote a lot of pages.
It'd be worth a look
Oh, sure.
to
sure.
find out the fact.
Well, maybe.
Dot, dot, dot.
I know. I was like, no. I mean, I looked at that forever to try to make sense of it, but I don't know.
It has to be that, are we going to make it back or not?
I would
Yeah.
think, right?
gonna
Or
Resign
something.
themselves, yeah.
Are
Yeah.
we going to be
yeah.
the lucky one or not?
Oh, my goodness. Well, before getting too far into her description of Kingman, let's learn more about it. So, Dale, what do you know about Kingman Army Airfield? They're there. She thinks they're going to be there a year.
Well,
we know?
it's quite the complex here. The Kingman Army Airfield, located in Kingman, Arizona, was a significant World War II training base for aerial gunnery. It was one of the largest of its kind, located on approximately 4,145 acres,
Jeez.
right by Route 66, and training over 35,000 individuals, primarily for B-17 Flying Fortress crews. Its facilities included housing for 3,200 enlisted men, 3,070 cadets, and 430 officers. Bugs Bunny became the base official mascot because of the large number of rabbits that inhabited the area.
Oh, okay.
And the base newspaper was
wondered.
called The Cactus. As the war was coming to an end, the Reconstruction Finance Corporation, RFC, was in charge of handling the disposal of around 34,000 aircraft. Kingman was chosen as one of the 30 for this task due to its open spaces, good weather for aircraft storage, and 3 runways, one of which was 6,800 feet long. It became known as Storage Depot number 41, and by October of 1945, planes were being flown in, parked, and processed. Planes were typically parked by type. As many as 150 airplanes a day were soon flying into Kingman, and the total aircraft inventory by the end of 1945 reached 4,700 planes.
Wow.
It is estimated that the total of about 5,500 airplanes were flown into Kingman in 1945 and 1946 for sale and disposal.
Good.
Now,
So
the
they're
Wunderlich
decommissioned.
Contracting Company was hired to process 5,400 aircraft to aluminum ingots.
So they're
They
just
processed them down.
crushing
The
them into
process
cans? or what?
involved, the process involved, I found this, very, very interesting. The process involved active military personnel flying the aircraft into Kingman, which Bruce probably did a few of them. There was fuel drained from the aircraft and sold. Aircraft engines were removed and placed in rows on the desert floor. Interior items of the aircraft, such as radios, oxygen equipment, handguns, manuals, life rafts, fire extinguishers, and instruments, were removed. The main aircraft airframe was then sliced into major pieces using a guillotine, along with some hand cutting of smaller parts.
Jeez.
The final step was placing parts into the smelters or furnace for melting. 3 furnaces were operated at Kingman for melting about 70% of the airplane's metal components into ingots. The furnaces were run 24 hours a day and could consume up to 35 aircraft a day.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
The results. Here's what, by the end of the 5,500 planes, 46 million pounds of aluminum were made, 6 million pounds of aluminum from engines, 5 million pounds of aluminum from propellers, 21 million pounds of steel, 1.6 million 1.6 million gallons of aviation fuel were saved, and 256,000 gallons of oil were processed
Wow.
through the reworking. A total of 85 reconnaissance aircraft, here were the airplanes that came in, a total of 85 reconnaissance aircraft, 615 fighters, 54 light bombers, 266 medium bombers, and 4,463 heavy bombers were disposed of.
Oh.
These
That's
5,483 aircraft scrapped by the Wunderlich at Kingman generated $7.5 million in gross income.
Oh, well.
By
Okay.
July of 1948, less than 3 years since the end of World War II, the job was done. A huge part of the American air power fleet had been reduced to ingots.
Wow.
What's an
Storage
ingot? What are they
Depot
talking-
number 41 and Kingman was returned to the county as a municipal airport.
Oh, okay.
So that's what Bruce gets involved with.
Recycle.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
Recycle.
you're recycling it.
And there's some pictures of 4,145 acres of space. They're just lined up to go through processing.
That's interesting. I never thought about what they did with all the planes.
Yeah, well, they made them into little ingots.
What are you saying?
Aluminum.
What are you saying? Ingots?
Yeah,
What is an ingot?
it's just like a gold bar, a metal gold bar.
Okay.
Except it's
I don't
aluminum
think
and
I've ever
silver.
heard that word.
So yeah, that's 46 million pounds, 6 million pounds, 41 million pounds. They saved 1.6 million gallons of aviation fuel.
Yeah, that's important. Gas,
200
gas
during
shortage
that
or
time,
whatever.
and 256 gallons of oil.
All right, so Kingman was used in the end there to recycle all the planes. All right, I didn't know that. I did see a picture of it with Bugs Bunny on the sign, and I was like, okay.
They got a cool logo. It's a
Yeah.
really cool logo.
But now it makes sense why. Okay.
Oh, very cool.
All right, well, let's hear about their rough first few days in Kingman. We're still on this same September 21st letter, in her own words.
Kingman, Arizona. A town of 1,500 people, natives, including the Mexicans, with 3,000 construction people thrown in and 8,000 soldiers mixed to a boiling point and try to find a room. All hotels filled, and JB and wife walked the dusty path of 1.5 miles to sleep in the garage behind an auto camp. $75 a month for that unfinished job with no sink but plenty of bugs. You know your son bugs. Seriously, I never saw Bruce so discouraged, and on top of it, here we just missed Roger in Miami. He was close to tears, and with good reason.
I have a story about this one. I remember, I think it was Mom that said...
The cockroaches?
Well, they pulled the sheets up. Yeah, they pulled the things up, and you could just hear them go tink, 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 tink. They would drop from the ceiling.
Yeah.
All the bugs. Yeah, you remember that
That's
too?
what I was going to
Yeah, yeah.
You told that story more than once.
Oh,
Well,
no.
I'm sure Dad was just
Yeah,
not
'cause he...
happy.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, Bruce left Miami so quickly that he never got to meet up with Roger. So if you remember last week, they were talking about he was in Fort Myers and they were in Miami and they were going to meet up.
Oh, that's right.
But they missed each other. That's very sad. The letter cuts off again here, but it picks up mid-sentence, I think, with what must be Bruce coming back into the room after his phone call. So the beginning of this letter starts with, he's down calling you. I think Bruce comes back in to say that they're going to be having visitors from Lowell after all. So in her own words.
Am I tickled that you, Lotta, and Veda are coming? My right arm is in knots from being excited while writing this. I was sure Frank would be coming. This is our first real high since we left Kingman. You know, we haven't had a drink as officers aren't allowed to buy anything in this town.
And the Ledger announces this too. So on September 28th, 1944, the Ledger reports that Veda's parents are coming to stay with her kids while she goes with Frank to Arizona. But I don't think Lotta makes the trip. So
Sounds like she's still recovering.
I think so. So I think, well, we'll find out next week. I believe Helen takes her place, as I'm looking ahead a little bit. But anyway, this long letter from Margaret actually ends with Bruce adding a note in her and his own words.
Bruce wants to add a note. I'm going out to the field now to see about getting some sort of authorization for gas. However, if you tell the board that the car is being brought out to me as a permanent change of station, they should let you have it. Be sure and get more than you need, and don't figure on the car getting over 12 to 15 miles per gallon out in these mountains. Gee, I'm glad Veda is coming. If you get plenty of gas, we'll go up to LA and Hollywood, and for sure Boulder Dam and Las Vegas, a town that's more famous than Reno for its glamour, etc. So Veda, cop all the A, B, and C tickets you can get your hands on. See Bill Smith, he'll fix you up. Love from the J.B. McMahons.
We're finally done with that letter. And we didn't even get the whole thing because not only were pages missing, I didn't even include the parts of the letter where Margaret lists all the home goods they need. So then she finds out that Frank and Veda are coming and she thinks Lotta, she just starts making a list of all the stuff they need.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like sheets and this and this. So I skipped over all that.
Okay.
So this is a really long letter. But Bruce's part of the letter makes it seem like Las Vegas is like a hot new travel destination, doesn't it?
It was newer.
In 1944, I guess, yeah, maybe it
yeah.
was. I don't know. Oh, I should have gotten Dale on the case on that
Mo,
one.
Mo Green just got
We'll have
rubbed
to
out.
figure it out.
Now I'll have to look that up.
1944.
Well, he's like, yeah, it's a town that's more famous than Reno, if you know. You know, I'm like, okay,
Well, I'll look into
sure.
that.
We'll have to look into
Which means
that.
that Reno must have been more famous than Vegas.
Yeah.
At one point, yeah.
Somebody
Must be.
Google that. Somebody Google that.
All right, we'll get on that. I should have assigned that one to figure out. But Margaret has not painted the greatest picture of Kingman. But we are going to finish today with a letter that Bruce typed to his sister Marion, and it is signed by both of them, but I think it was clearly written by Bruce. It doesn't have a date on it, but it's most likely also from those first few days in Kingman, in his own words.
Dear Sis, I have a few minutes between appointments here on the field, so I begged this machine from one of the whacks working here, and we'll just try to get a note out to you. As you must realize, we just haven't had the time to write much to anyone. It's a cinch that on the train down here we couldn't write because it shook so much. However, even as tough as it was, you would have been proud of the new member of our family. Helen Highwater doesn't seem to faze her, and the tougher things get, the better she gets along. The town of Kingman is located right in the mountains, and there's plenty of sand that blows. The housing conditions just don't exist. They told me when I arrived that if I had my wife, that I would be best to send her home, as they had officers here that had been waiting for 8-10 months to get a place so that they could send for their wives, but hadn't found a place yet. I'll admit the first 2 nights that we spent in a half-finished garage almost had us deciding to do as they had said, but now we're going to give it all we have, and see if we can't find something. If we do find a house in the housing project they have around, the credit must go entirely to Marg. She has applied for a teaching job, so she would be eligible for priority on one of the little OPA places they have. She'll find out for sure this afternoon whether or not we get one of those places or not. Keep your fingers crossed for us. The base itself isn't so bad, and it's a cinch I won't have to work very hard, at least by the looks of things at this time. I was talking to the CEO of the gunnery school here, and he said that Raj is a cinch to be made a gunnery instructor because of his age and his IQ. He said that he's going to be made an instructor. If he's going to be made an instructor, he'll have to go through the course down in Fort Myers, and then he'll be sent to an instructor school in Laredo, Texas. After he finishes that course, it will be possible for the CEO here to ask him for him, and then he would be stationed here. That would surely be a swell setup if it would only go through. If we could get one of those houses here, there would be room for Raj, and I could live off the post with he could live off the post with us, take 7 or 15-day leaves with us, and in general make things a lot nicer. Of course, there are a lot of things that can spoil this little daydream of mine, but you can always hope, right? However, from what the fellow said here, his chances of being sent across at his age are quite remote. We'll wait and see. Well, the gal had to use this machine now, so I'll close and say those famous words of ours. I'll be seeing you, your loving brother and sister, Marg and Bruce.
Aw.
Bruce and Marg, yeah.
He's wishing Roger would come to Kingman.
Yeah, that
His daydream.
did sound like a lot of things would have to fall into place
I
for
know,
that to happen.
absolutely. I also think it's cool that he's acknowledging what Marg has been doing to get them a place to stay. So
Oh,
she's
yeah.
going to try to get a house by getting a teaching job, so then they get like first pick of these, public housing or whatever.
He talks her
Right.
up at every chance.
Yeah, he really is. And I will say, he did write the word hell and high water to Marion. So he does write it, just
the
not to
war
his
did
parents.
change him.
Not to his parents. He's not going to write it to Lotta
Oh,
and Frank,
that's
but
right.
to his
I'm
sister, he'll write it. And I did read this letter where he said there's plenty of sand that blows. I thought that meant like he was saying that sucks. Like that blows.
I don't think so.
So much sand that blows. And I was like, that does not sound like 1940s.
No.
It's like, but he meant the sand is
I
blowing.
think he meant that literally. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to read that twice. I was like, wait a minute. That's not going to work. Well, anyway, that's it for us today. Our next episode is actually the last one of 1944, our season 3 finale. Our stack of letters is getting a little smaller.
I feel a little more relaxed now that he's out of combat for some reason.
Yeah.
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 I'm
Well,
not as nervous.
they have lots more adventures. A few more that we know of anyway, based on these letters. So thank you all for listening to Letters Home. We hope you continue to listen as we go through Bruce's story. You can listen to Letters Home on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or the Lowell Historical Museum website and YouTube channel. New episodes drop every Thursday. The Lowell Historical Museum has digitized versions of Bruce's letters, so you can read them in full, along with primary sources for most of the people, places, and events we've talked about here today, plus more. You can also follow the Lowell Historical Museum on Facebook and the Letters Home podcast on Instagram at Letters Home Lowell. Thank you to Roger McNaughton for our podcast music and to Lowell Radio for letting us record in their studio at Lowell High School every week. Stream it at lowellradio.org. See you next time.